Morning.
How you doing today?
Doing okay.
Yeah.
That committee over? They still in DTAC? Oh.
Carol's gonna be Libby.
Oh, no worries, no worries. She just texted me, said she was running behind. So.
Oh, geez.
Mike, how you doing?
Good morning. Will the clerk
Stressed?
please call the roll? Calling the roll for the Monday, June 10th, 2024. We have Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Meredith Turner.
Present.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Present.
Trevor Meckler serving as an alternate for Pernell Jones Jr.
Here.
Mike Dever.
Here.
Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Renee, County Executive.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for Mike Chambers, Fiscal Officer, and as chairperson.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If we can take a few minutes to review the Board of Control minutes from June 3rd, make sure there's no corrections. There's no corrections noted. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last week. All those in favor, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
And moving on to contracts and awards.
First item, BC 2024-434, Department of Public Works recommending an award on RQ 13883 and submitting a purchase order with the McLean Company in the amount not to exceed $55,000 for the purchase of one hot box trailer for the Road and Bridge Division.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This is an award of a PO to McLean Company. It's for a hot box for road and bridge crews. The hot box, it's like a 4-ton piece of equipment that they pick up asphalt. It keeps it hot. So our guys right now, they have to constantly make trips back to the plant to get fresh asphalt. This will keep that asphalt hot all day. They can actually pick it up the night before and go straight to the projects in the morning. This was competitively bid out, and we're going with the lowest and best bidder.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilman Miller?
So, thank you, Madam Chair, and to Mr. Pavich. I see you got 4 bids. What was the range of prices received?
So we did accept alternates. All of our bids, we entertain alternates. So we have our stakeholders, they'll go through the actual specifications. So we had 4 bids. They range from $36,950 to $56,700. We went with McLean, which was $55,000. It was an alternate. The low bidder of 36 also submitted a different alternate that did not meet some of the specifications. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-435, Department of Public Works recommending an award and submitting a contract with Co-File Technologies Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $25,987.60 for digitalization of records, annual licensing, hosting services, support and maintenance for the county archives effective upon signatures of all parties for a period of 1 year.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. This is approval of a 1-year contract with Co-File. This is the scanning project over at the county archives. This is the first phase. They'll be scanning large format, heavily used dockets, I believe, with common pleas. They'll be moving them into a digital format. There'll also be a hard copy as well. The 1-year contract, it's for the initial setup, the actual scanning of the project, and the hosting of the data, the digital data.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Since you sent out 218 bid packages, when this comes up next, are you going to make any effort to narrow the field to businesses that would actually have some chance of bidding on this?
Yes and no. So the large number of vendors we bid out to, when we put these informal bids in the bidding software in for, it's up to departments to include the commodity codes that pertain to what we're actually, the business need. We put an extra number of commodity codes out there just to try to drum up business, to see if there are any other vendors out there that could fall into this category. This actual project, I think there was a pre-question, is a specialized type of scanning project. They have to be experienced in handling sensitive documents, archived documents. So we believe it is a smaller market to begin with. This time we sent it out to a lot of vendors just to see if there's anyone out there. We may put together a separate plan holders list to do more investigation into calling vendors to see who, like in the state of Ohio or surrounding states, could actually do this.
And Tom, if I could add to that, Paul Porter Purchasing, when vendors register for the commodity code, I looked through the list of vendors for this one. There were a ton of IT vendors that just registered with the general high-level information technology services code. This was within kind of the sub-level code of information technologies. But if a vendor was registered for everything that falls under code 1234, even if it's like a sub-level, they get notified of everything within that high-level code. That's part of the reason that there were so many vendors. So it's not that it was vendors outside the IT realm. It's just vendors, like Tom said, that maybe are within that realm but aren't this specialized.
So, is there any significant cost to sending out to this many vendors, or is it all done electronically and it's a matter of just pushing a few buttons and it doesn't, there's not any significant cost involved in that?
There's no additional cost. So whether we select one vendor or 218, it's the same cost.
Okay, good to know.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next, item BC 2024-436, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP in the amount not to exceed $57,337.12 for a joint cooperative purchase of labor and materials for upgrades to the fire alarm system at the Metzenbaum Center, effective upon contract signatures of all parties for a period of 6 months, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a cooperative purchase agreement through the Sourcewell contracting method through the Johnson Controls Fire Protection Sourcewell contract to install a new fire alarm control panel at the Metzenbaum building. This will help the entire building and modernize the fire alarm systems, but it will most importantly address the improvements that we're making in the building actively. We are integrating a fire suppression system, which the building does not currently have, with the additions, and also the new alarm system as well in the wings that we're constructing. But this will modernize the entire building's fire alarm system moving forward.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2024-437, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Infotech Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $85,500 for the renewal of 15 APIA standard software licenses for construction, administration, and inspection services for the period June 16, 2024 through June 15, 2027, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, again, Public Works. This is approval of a 3-year contract with Infotech. It's for the APIA software that's utilized by our construction management teams and some of our sanitary teams. It's basically a turnkey solution for all their construction management, cost estimates, payments to the vendor, all their designs, the administrative work, the proposals, et cetera. So they've been utilizing the software for some time. I know there'd be an additional cost incurred if we were to switch vendors. They have the data that we could always pull the historical data from, and this is the new 3-year contract with them.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2024-438, Department of Development recommending a United States Environmental Protection Agency Brownfield Revolving Fund loan to Global Ambassadors Language Academy in the amount not to exceed $498,884 for the environmental remediation of asbestos and lead-based paint associated with the former McKinley School, 3349 West 125th Street, Cleveland, for the renovation and utilization as a charter school for the neighborhood.
Good morning, Anthony Stella with Department of Development. Maren Rogers is here also. She's Executive Director of Global Ambassadors Language Academy. And they are looking to remediate lead-based paint and asbestos in order to develop a charter school, as was stated, at the former McKinley School as part of the CMSD. The Gallus School is it's a unique bilingual opportunity for children. It's a free nonprofit charter school, offers language immersion instruction in Mandarin and Spanish. It's the first language immersion school in Northeast Ohio and the only Mandarin school in Ohio. It began in 2016 with only 60 students and has been growing. They, in the first year, just only offered kindergarten. They kept adding additional grades. So they're expanding, adding students and adding jobs. And we are looking to do a brownfield loan in the amount of $498,884 with our usual 1% interest rate, which will be, they'll actually make interest-only payments on the loan and then paying the principal balance in year 10. And if there's any questions.
Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-439, Department of Housing and Community Development recommending an award on RQ 13620 and submitting a contract with Housing Research and Advocacy Center in the amount not to exceed $250,000 for fair housing services effective upon contract signatures of all parties through April 30th, 2026.
Good morning, Kelly Glenn, Administrator for Housing and Community Development. We are asking approval for Housing and Research Advocacy Center, not to exceed $250,000 for fair housing services. We will be doing testing, investigating, training, and technical assistance. And in addition to training tenant groups, social service organizations, and nonprofits. And we solicited for 14 responses, but we only got one to affirmatively further fair housing, but this is a requirement under HUD, and they are the Housing Research and Advocacy Center is the only entity in this area that does this type of work.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-440, Department of Information Technology recommending to amend Board of Control Approval Number BC 2020-142 dated February 24, 2020, which approved an amendment to a contract number CE 1400329 with Time Warner Cable Enterprises LLC to sign the interest from Time Warner Cable Enterprises LLC to Charter Communications Operating LLC, DBA Spectrum, for dark fiber maintenance services for the period October 1st, 2014 through September 30th, 2024, to expand the scope of services for additional fiber maintenance at various locations effective January 12, 2020, to modify the payment and contract terms effective February 24, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $405,431.40 by changing the time period from October 1st, 2014 through September 30th, 2024 to October 1st, 2014 through January 12th, 2025.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. As Cheryl just read into the record, this amendment to a prior approval is only to change the expiration date, going from 9/30/2024 to 1/12/2025. And thank you again to Legal and Purchasing's help and vendors' agreement upon the actual existing agreement's expiration date of 1/12/25.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-441, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Nexum Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $14,161.17 for the purchase of Panorama Central Management Software for 25 devices and Nexum-enabled premium support for each device, effective Board of Control approval for a period of 3 years, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. These additional firewalls will be maintained on the same platform as our existing firewalls.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
What is the need for additional firewalls?
Dale, I will have to get back to you with the exact answer to that. I do know that they're in addition to the existing environment that is strictly here at the data center. But I'll get you where they're being deployed or how they're being deployed. I'll get that back to Cheryl.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2024-442, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, and Division of Senior and Adult Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Pure Place Networks LLC for maintenance of a cloud-based comprehensive case management system for the period August 4, 2014 through July 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2025, to expand the scope of services effective August 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $202,620.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. Again, this is an amendment with Pure Place for a comprehensive case management system. Both Family and Children First Council and Senior and Adult Services use Pure Place for case management and billing. We have amended this contract several times, but this should be the last amendment. We are releasing an RFP actually very shortly for potentially a new vendor to start at the end of this contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Do we expect that the current vendor will be bidding on the new RFP, or are we looking to move in another direction and planning on a different kind of system? Where are we at on that?
We expect them to bid. They will be on the list to get the RFP itself, but we've created a new plan holders list to add additional vendors that would get notice of the RFP. We're looking at our options. We'd like to see what else is out there, who could provide the services at a better rate or more comprehensive services. So we definitely are looking at our options, and that's why we are releasing it almost a year before the expiration of this contract, because if we do choose a different vendor, we'll have time to transition.
And are the RFP specifications going to be consistent with what's currently being provided, or is it going to be calling for something different or better?
It's going to be calling for something better, I would believe. We've had this since, I believe, 2016.
Yeah.
Something like that. So we're definitely looking to get a little bit more bang for our buck going forward.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-443, Department of Law submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in award recommendation to Calfee, Halter, and Griswold LLP in the amount not to exceed $80,000 for various legal services in connection with the evaluation of proposals and negotiating the terms and drafting of the contract to acquire a jail management system for the period March 20th, 2024 through project completion, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Morning, Greg Huth with Law Department. We're engaging Dan McMullen with Calfee Halter. Some of the folks know he's been helping us out with some other IT issues. He's going to work with IT to review the proposals that come in regarding the jail, or that have come in, I guess, regarding the jail management system that they're preparing. Then he's also going to be negotiating and preparing the contract for us to help us learn some things.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Just a comment that given the difficulties we've had in this area in the past, that obtaining some outside expertise is probably money well spent.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2024-444, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division submitting an amendment to a contract with Dr. Douglas E. Waltman, Ph.D., formerly Waltman Psychological Services, for psychological evaluation services for the diagnostic clinic for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $45,000.
Good morning, Tara Brown. This is juvenile court's contract with Dr. Waltman to provide diagnostic services for the diagnostic clinic. We did think that Dr. Waltman was not going to continue when his contract expired at the end of last year. However, he has decided to stay, and due to our relationship with him, the high demand for the services and the lack of responses we got for the last RFP, we would like to continue with this contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Deborah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-445, County Prosecutor submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $16,760 for a state contract purchase of 20 replacement HP Elite Mini desktop computers and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Josh Brower with the County Prosecutor. This item represents the purchase of 20 desktop computers replacing 6-year-old desktops for various units in the CCPO.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Deborah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-446, County Prosecutor submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $42,624 for a state contract purchase of 32 HP ZBook Firefly mobile workstations and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Josh Brower with the County Prosecutor. This item represents the purchase of 32 HP laptops replacing 6-year-old laptops for various units in the CCPO.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Deborah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-447, County Prosecutor submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $11,262 for a state contract purchase of various HPE equipment, parts, and accessories for a new forensic server and workstations for the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office Forensic Examiner and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Josh Brower with the County Prosecutor. This item represents the purchase of components and hardware for a forensic server and workstation to be used by a CCPO forensic examiner.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Deborah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank
Next
you.
item.
Next item, BC 2024-448, correcting to read to add the name of the department. Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to ANSI National Accreditation Board, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $50,740 for a 3-day on-site inspection and DNA QAS audits to maintain accreditation, licensing fees for use of ABFT Laboratory Accreditation Standard, and 2024 annual accreditation fees, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is the, we do an annual accreditation with the ANSI board, but this is the 4-year in-person site visit. There was a significant increase, partly due to adding the toxicology department to the inspection. But also, they were informing us that they're sending up to 13 inspectors, and so the number of inspectors increases the number, the amount of the cost. When we questioned them on that, they said there may be up to 13. It may not end up being that many people. Generally, it's because they need individuals who are trained for the inspections of very specific disciplines, toxicology, drug chemistry, DNA, things like that. They can't get inspectors who are, for lack of a better term, multidisciplinary, then they have to send more inspectors to do the final accreditation visit. So this will be not to exceed that amount, but it may well be less than that.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. What is it about this accreditation that makes it worth paying up to $50,740 for it?
So this is an outside validation of the work that's done by the forensic laboratories within the regional crime lab. With those kind of validations, it doesn't so much benefit us necessarily, but when prosecutors go to court, the results of laboratory testing that has been accredited stands up more to scrutiny. And it's not just prosecutors. We strive to make sure that both the prosecution and the defense have our results, our testing available to them, and that they can trust those results. It hasn't become an issue yet in Ohio that it become mandatory that the testing results from laboratory reports that get submitted to court must be coming from accredited labs, but there are places in the United States that is the case. It's a growing concern. It's probably likely that will come home to roost here in Ohio in the near future. So I think it's in general a best practice that the work that we do can be validated by an outside source that says the results are accurate, the methodologies are valid, and can be reproduced for any court in any jurisdiction.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Dever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-449, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to 4A LLC DBA 4A Technologies in the amount not to exceed $7,155 for a joint cooperative purchase of 5 additional 4A Adams standard concurrent user licenses and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
These are just additional licenses for this system, and we're using up the remaining bits of our ARPA grants.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-450, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Fisher Scientific Company LLC in the amount not to exceed $9,345.20 for a joint cooperative purchase of various caps, vials, and bulbs for use by the Drug Chemistry Lab and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Thank you, Shannon. These are just general supplies for the Drug Chemistry Laboratory.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Dever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2024-451, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services recommending awards and submitting agreements and contracts with various providers for various services in connection with the fiscal year 2023 Stop Violence Against Women's Act Block Grant for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, as listed for items A through G on the printed agenda.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and these awards are for grants for local projects that strengthen effective law enforcement and prosecution strategies, as well as services to combat crimes against women. These amount to basically continuation grants for the existing subrecipients. They do go back quite a few months, back to January 1st, and that's because we did not receive the award from our funder until April 25th, and the first opportunity council had to approve the budget was at last Tuesday's meeting. So this is now the first opportunity to submit these contracts. All these vendors will be able to submit bills retroactively and get reimbursed going back to January 1st.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2024-452, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Reentry, recommending to amend Board of Control Approval Number BC 2024-353 dated May 6, 2024, which approved an amendment to a contract with Oriana House Incorporated for administration and operation of the Neighborhood Reentry Resource Center and the Adult Transition Model for the period July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024, to expand the scope of services effective upon contract signatures of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $100,000 to change the amount not to exceed to $200,000.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. Again, this is an item to correct the Board of Control agenda from May 6, 2024. The agenda caption accidentally listed the amount of the contract amendment at $100,000 when it was supposed to be listed at $200,000.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2024-453, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, recommending an award and submitting a contract with Playhouse Square Hotel LLC, DBA Crown Plaza Cleveland at Playhouse Square, and the amount not to exceed $17,012.80 for a room rental, catering, and audiovisual services in connection with the annual Fatherhood Conference to be held on June 14, 2024.
Marcos Cortez again with Health and Human Services on behalf of the Office of Child Support Services for the Fatherhood Initiative. Again, this is a contract with Crown Plaza at Playhouse Square for the 18th Annual Fatherhood Conference. We did issue an informal bid and we received 4 responses. Crown Plaza was the lowest bidder. We have Al Grimes here, Director of the Fatherhood Initiative, if you have any questions specifically about the conference itself.
Thank you. Are there any questions about this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item?
Moving on to consent agenda items BC 2024-454 through BC 2024-456.
Okay, we can take a minute to review these items. Are there any questions on these items? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Is there any other business?
Yes. We have a time-sensitive mission critical, BC 2024-457, Department of Public Works recommending an award and submitting a purchase order with ADB Safegate Americas LLC in the amount not to exceed $7,620.68 for 1 replacement 19-inch touchscreen Arista ESG monitor and 2 capacitors, installation and software configuration for the county airport lighting systems.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. This is approval of the mission critical that we had some time back with ADB Safegate. So there was a power outage at the airport, and then eventually it caused, there was a cause to the airfield lighting failure. Our stakeholders, including our superintendent out at the airport, reached out to the manufacturer as well as the supplier of the actual equipment, which was the ADB Safegate. They were on site that same day, troubleshooting. They got it back up and running. There were some parts that had to be replaced next day, which they overnighted, and the lighting at the airport is fully operational.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those opposed, say aye.
Aye.
I mean, all those in favor say aye. I'm sorry. All those opposed.